inspiration for today's sermon came from a prayer that a friend of mine wrote for her own memorial service. Her terminal medical diagnosis left plenty of time to reflect on the end of life. These are a few words of a prayer that she wrote for her own memorial service. Through grace, I now stand in this moment ready for the next step. Guide me, bless me. I humbly call forth the above beings and the below beings, and the mysterious forces of heaven and earth. I am at the marriage of both of your energies, non-material and material united. Here at Tapestry, as we explore interdependence in worship this month, I realized what a beautiful description this was of the special location of human life, a point of connection between the material and the spiritual. Typically, we talk about interdependence in a way that's almost synonymous with ecology or macroeconomics here. We tend to focus on the material sense of interdependence. Today, I want to expand our sense of connection to include connection with the evanescent, sublime, mysterious, the transcendent, the indescribable mystery, and our ordinary material life. When we are at our best, we remember our connection to the sacred for maybe 30 minutes on a really good day. There are all sorts of ways that we seek these reminders. Some of us do yoga to prepare our bodies for Shavasana, that physical experience of letting go into the sense of connection. Some of us practice mindfulness meditation or transcendental meditation. Some light candles or embrace crystals or collect art. Some seek their moments of awareness in the humbling beauty of nature. The methods are many. The goal, though, is very similar. We seek a moment of awareness of the sacred that is bigger than our usual sense of self. When the topic of the transcendent mystery comes up, for me, one of the most reliable sources is what Ralph Waldo Emerson had to say about the soul. Combining his Unitarian Christianity and his extensive reading of Hindu texts, in 1841, Emerson wrote his essay, The Oversoul. He described a really specific idea of what a soul is. It still makes quite a bit of sense today. And he hit this sweet spot between being general enough to not sound dogmatic, but specific enough to speak of something substantial and inspiring. There are a few key points to what Emerson describes. First, he says, the soul is a piece of the divine that is in every single person. For those of you who have been around for a while, there is a clear echo here with our first principle and belief in the worth and dignity of every single person. You may talk about it as a person's humanity or potential or spark or light, whatever you choose to call it, it's in everybody. It doesn't depend on individual choice, it's not earned through deeds or words, and it's not taken away. The soul is innate to every person. Second, the soul is the same in every person. Now, I know this is a big departure from the Christian idea of soul and more in line with Hinduism, but each person has the same spark inside, and it's the same energy that animates the universe. In Hinduism, this is the general spiritual quest to recognize and live into that reality, that the spark that is in ourselves is fundamentally inseparable with that bigger force of life. third piece for Emerson. He says that the soul is our key to growth. This was sort of drawing on Greek philosophy. He thought that this soul could illuminate a deeper way of knowing for us. We Unitarians and Universalists have always been in the business of bettering ourselves, doing what we can to improve society. Whether that was expanding access to education, or the abolition of slavery, or women's rights, or empowerment of other marginalized groups, we have been there doing it. While those efforts look more political today, historically the goal was to liberate souls, to allow hearts and minds to flourish and live up to their fullest capacity. And we aren't saving souls for the hereafter. We're defending the right of each soul to thrive and shine here and now as it is intended to. Fourth idea of Emerson, and really the key point for today, is that the soul is about connection, because it's the same in everybody. It's a reliable point of connection with the rest of creation. It's the soul in us that recognizes the soul in others. They gravitate toward one another, bringing one another out of hiding, if we allow it. Being in healthy, trusting community allows us to practice that with each other. Remember, everyone else shares that same light, whether they know it or not, whether or not we can see it. The soul is also a connection with the sacred. The soul, or spark, or animating force of life, whatever you want to call it, is an integral part of each person, and so is our material body. We are both body and spirit at the same time. Now, I probably pay too much attention to casual theological statements, but I can't help it. A lot of them are really frustrating. How many of you have heard or read the concept, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience? You can probably finish this. We're spiritual beings have a human experience. One of the things I appreciate most about our Unitarian Universalist faith is that we refuse to engage in that type of hierarchical split between the two. We take a both-and approach to the question. We are rooted in the material reality of science, bound to this earth, living in beautiful, fragile, complicated bodies. And we are composed of stardust, full of life and intuition and mystery, wonder, love, and 1,000 illogical, magical ways of being. We don't have to be one or the other. The beauty is that we are both at the axis of two beautiful ways of being. I know some of you are absolutely bristling at this discussion of spirit or some non-material essence. I appreciate that skepticism. These days, I find that more and more colleagues are offering sermons about artificial intelligence. We are probably overdue for one here at Tapestry. I'm not going to go too far down that discussion today, but the fascination with AI, the emergence of original thought, self-awareness, the autonomy that has an abiding connection to this question of spirit. In the fascination with AI, there are concerns about safety and power. Who can forget the Terminator franchise or HAL 9000? I often joke about speaking kindly to Siri and Google because one day they will be our digital overlords. The fascination with AI development, though, goes beyond security concerns. There are questions of soul, for lack of a better word, that arise. Our collective angst illustrates something powerful occurs when a being has self-awareness. We see a line gets crossed when a machine is more than the sum of its parts. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but we've been exploring this question in science fiction for well over 100 years. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein being a classic example. I prefer the 2001 film AI. It follows the story of David, an AI robot that was created to be the son of a married couple without children. When David is replaced by a biological son of the couple, a heart-wrenching journey ensues. And who can forget Pinocchio? You get my point. We have been fascinated by the question of what type of being has this essence for a long time. What would make Pinocchio a real boy? Perhaps we call it soul for short. Let me complicate things a little bit farther. Last Sunday, I was at a dinner party celebrating Diwali. The host had an adorable dog named Dobie, and most of the attendees were pet lovers. Eventually, conversation turned toward the YouTube personality Bunny. Bunny is, in fact, not a rabbit. Bunny is the name of a dog, a poodle Australian Shepherd mix. It was explained to me over dinner, and later I went down my own YouTube rabbit trail with Bunny. She is quite the conversationalist. And yes, I mean the dog. More and more people are using buttons for their dogs to communicate with them. Each large button has a word, starting with simple nouns and getting more and more complex. The dog can press a particular button with their nose or their paw. It's not surprising that a dog will communicate about wanting food or needing to go outside. They can identify people, of course. Bunny, though, has a vocabulary that includes emotional states. She knows when mom or dad go to work. She requests play dates with particular dog friends. She knows the word stranger or friend and has made up names for her friends with combinations of buttons. Here's where it gets crazy. Bunny will tell her owner through pressing buttons about her experiences with what she calls night talk. That's what she calls her dreams. Through pressing simple language buttons with a paw or a nose, dogs are able to communicate complicated ideas, including the difference between current reality and dreams. For cat lovers, there is Billy, the talking cat. In one of the episodes I watched, Billy's dad was away on a business trip. When mom explained to Billy, the response was Billy hitting the mad button several times. When mom tried to explain that dad was far away and wouldn't be back for a long time, mom pressed the later button several times. Billy was not having it. Billy returned to the mad button, one of Billy's favorites. As mom kept talking, trying to explain and console Billy, that is when Billy came up with a new word combination. Billy hit the noise button and the all done button, which Billy pressed several times. Billy's owner realized that her cat had just told her to shut up. It's funny, but this video quickly becomes heartbreaking as we see Billy return over and over to the want button and the dad button and the pet button and the dad button. Now, claiming the authority to determine who has a soul and who doesn't is really dangerous territory. What I suggest is that spark that is in each person, the capacity to love and to reason and to ask questions, is probably broader than even every human person. Even as hard as it is sometimes to see it in our human neighbors, I believe it is much more likely that our world is shot through with this mysterious, animated, loving spirit. As a faith community, we talk about interdependence. We would be remiss to not acknowledge this more mysterious thread that weaves our lives together. It seems that one of the few things that we can agree with all of our neighbors about is that we are due for some dramatic change of heart. Not a change toward louder or stronger or more. We've tried that, especially in the United States, for a long time. The change of heart we are due for is about recognizing one another and our place in the world in perhaps a different way. People are becoming more aware of the political enmity is getting us nowhere, and people are turning away from entertainment news and social media diet of misinformation and fear. More and more people are noticing this isn't working. There are glimmers of change happening out there. As we fully embrace interdependence, I wonder what it would look like if we embrace the web not just in the material world, but in the spiritual world as well. What would it look like for us to cultivate a recognition of spirit in all beings? A little different from human rights or worth and dignity. What would it look like for us to recognize that we are all made up of the same stardust, the same mystery of life, that thing that in this vast universe seems really, really rare? I believe we have the capacity to slow down, to set aside some blinders, to recognize that not just other humans, but all our animal friends and neighbors have this spirit as well. That the forests and oceans can breathe, that the animals are our brothers and sisters, that the wisdom of the living earth is worthy of our attention. In fact, she knows what we need. So in those flashes of awareness of interconnectedness that come to all of us, maybe 30 minutes on a really good day, I hope you will consider the possibility of the material and non-material realities that bind us together in this big, beautiful world. Amen.